Picture this. You're sitting across from someone who just told you they were at home all night, but something feels off. Their eyes dart to the left. They touch their nose. Their voice goes up at the end of that sentence. What if I told you that FBI agents are trained to catch these exact signals? And what if I told you that by the end of this video, you'll know their secrets too? I'm about to reveal the psychological techniques that federal agents use every single day to separate truth from lies. These aren't party tricks or pseudoscience. These are battle-tested methods developed through decades of interrogations, witness interviews, and criminal investigations. And the best part? You can start using them immediately. Let me tell you about Agent Sarah Chen. She's sitting in a sterile interrogation room in Quantico, facing a suspect in a major fraud case. The man across from her seems calm, collected, even charming. He's denying everything with a smile. But Sarah sees something else. Something in his micro-expressions, his body language, his speech patterns. Within 20 minutes, she knows he's lying. Within an hour, he confesses to stealing $2.7 million. How did she do it? Sarah used a systematic approach called the READ technique, combined with baseline behavioral analysis. Don't worry about the fancy names. I'm going to break this down so simply that you'll be spotting lies like a federal agent by dinner time. The first thing FBI agents do is establish a baseline. Think of this as your lie detector calibration. Everyone has their normal way of speaking, moving, and behaving when they're relaxed and telling the truth. Sarah spent the first 10 minutes asking her suspect simple, non-threatening questions. Where do you live? What's your job title? How long have you worked there? During these baseline questions, she noticed he naturally gestured with his hands, maintained steady eye contact, and spoke in a clear, confident tone. His shoulders were relaxed, his breathing was even. This became her reference point. Here's your first technique. Before you suspect someone of lying, observe them during normal conversation. Notice their natural eye contact patterns. Do they usually gesture? How fast do they typically speak? What's their normal facial expression? This baseline becomes your truth detector. Watch for deviations. When Sarah asked about the missing money, everything changed. His hands suddenly went still. His voice became more formal. He started touching his face repeatedly. These weren't random nervous habits. They were deviation signals. The second FBI technique is reading micro-expressions. These are tiny facial movements that last less than half a second. They happen before people can control them, making them incredibly reliable lie indicators. Agent Chen noticed something crucial when her suspect denied stealing the money. For just a fraction of a second, one corner of his mouth turned down in what psychologists call a micro-expression of contempt. He was unconsciously showing disdain for his own lie. Here are the key micro-expressions to watch for. Fear shows up as raised eyebrows and widened eyes, even if just briefly. Anger flashes as a lowered brow and tightened lips. Disgust appears as a wrinkled nose or raised upper lip. And contempt, like Agent Chen saw, shows as one corner of the mouth pulling down her back. The key is timing. These expressions happen right when someone hears your question, before they have time to put on their poker face. If someone claims they're happy about something but you catch a micro-expression of sadness, that's a red flag worth investigating. Practice this technique by watching people's faces carefully during conversations. You'll be amazed how much emotion people reveal before they know they're showing it. The third technique focuses on speech patterns and linguistic analysis. FBI agents are trained to listen not just to what people say, but how they say it. Agent Chen noticed several telling changes in her suspect's speech when he started lying. First, his response time increased. When telling the truth about basic facts, he answered immediately, but when lying about the fraud, he paused longer before responding. This pause time, called response latency, often increases when people are constructing false information. Second, his language became more formal and distant. Instead of saying, "I didn't take the money," he said, "I would never engage in such activities." Liars often use more formal language to distance themselves psychologically from their lies. Third, he started using what linguists call distancing language. He avoided first-person pronouns. Instead of, "I was at the office," he said, "One would typically be at the office during those hours." This linguistic distancing is a subconscious attempt to separate themselves from the lie. Here's what you should listen for. increased response time before answering direct questions, overly formal or complex language when simple words would do, avoiding personal pronouns like I or me, and watch for verbal hedging, phrases like, to be honest, as far as I can recall, or I believe that. Truth tellers rarely need to qualify their statements. The fourth FBI technique involves analyzing body language clusters. Single gestures can be misleading, but patterns of behavior are much more reliable. Agent Chen didn't rely on just one signal. She looked for clusters of deceptive behaviors happening together. When her suspect lied, he didn't just touch his face once. He repeatedly covered his mouth, touched his nose, and rubbed his neck. This cluster of self-soothing behaviors, combined with his other changes, painted a clear picture. FBI agents look for what they call the deception triangle. Changes in eye contact, increased fidgeting, and protective postures. The suspect might suddenly cross their arms, lean back, or create physical barriers with objects on the table. Here's your practical guide to body language clusters. Look for combinations of these behaviors. Decreased eye contact, or unnatural staring. Increased touching of face, neck, or throat. Protective postures like crossed arms or turning the body away. Changes in breathing patterns, often becoming shallower or more rapid. And fidgeting behaviors that weren't present during baseline conversation. Remember, one or two of these behaviors might just mean someone is uncomfortable or nervous. But when you see multiple behaviors clustering together, especially when they deviate from the person's baseline, that's when your lie detection alarm should start ringing. Now let's talk about using these techniques in your daily life. Maybe you're a parent trying to figure out if your teenager really was at the library. Maybe you're in a business negotiation and need to know if the other party is being honest about their bottom line. Or maybe you're dating and want to know if someone is being genuine about their intentions. The key is subtlety and ethics. You're not interrogating people. You're simply becoming more aware of communication signals that are already there. Start by practicing baseline observation with friends and family during normal conversations. Notice their natural patterns. Then, when you need to assess truthfulness, ask open-ended questions and look for clusters of deviations from their baseline behavior. Don't accuse people based on these observations alone. Instead, use them as signals to ask follow-up questions or seek additional verification. Remember, these techniques make you a better communicator and more aware observer, not a human polygraph machine. Context matters, cultural differences matter, individual personality traits matter. Use these tools wisely and ethically. Let's recap what Agent Sarah Chen taught us about FBI lie detection. First, establish a behavioral baseline through normal conversation. Second, watch for micro-expressions that reveal true emotions. Third, listen for changes in speech patterns and language choices. Fourth, look for clusters of deceptive body language behaviors. These aren't just academic concepts. Agent Chen used these exact techniques to solve a multi-million-dollar fraud case. You can use them to become a more effective communicator, a better judge of character, and someone who makes decisions based on accurate information rather than deception. But here's the thing about lie detection. The more you practice observing people, the better you become at reading them. It's like developing a sixth sense for human behavior. Start small, practice with low-stakes conversations, notice patterns, build your skills gradually. The FBI didn't develop these techniques overnight, and you won't master them immediately either. But every conversation is a chance to practice, every interaction an opportunity to improve your people reading abilities. If you found these FBI techniques fascinating and want to dive deeper into the psychology of human behavior, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Next week, I'm revealing the body language secrets that CIA agents use to detect foreign spies. You won't want to miss that. What's the most surprising lie you've ever caught someone telling? Share your story in the comments below, and remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use these FBI techniques wisely, ethically, and always in service of truth. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your mind sharp. You never know what secrets people might be revealing without even knowing it.
I was like 15 when I had my first heartbreak. I was like 10 when I realized people all fake. I was like 6 and started rapping about the hard days. Now a nigga grown, they play my songs and say I'm hard A. As I'm getting older, I just know that I can't waste time. But it's kinda hard, got different vibes calling my FaceTime.